Hello, my friend. In this video, I'm going to be giving you a deep dive into the strategy that I've followed to get over 5 million streams on Spotify so far. And this is the strategy that I recommend any artist follows if they want to start building their music career, particularly on Spotify, but really just generally as well, because to have a solid music career is all about releasing lots and lots of music consistently. And that really is the core of this strategy. It's very much a music first strategy and not a promotion and marketing first strategy. And I should also mention that this lesson is part of a free course that I have available as well. So if you'd like to check that out so you could figure out how to build a strategy and learn all the tactics and then actually create a 6 to 12 month release plan for your music, there'll be a link in the description below to get access to that course for free. So with that said, let's jump into this. If you want to get more streams to your music, then you need to figure out how to release more music that gets heard by more fans. This is not about getting 1 million streams by tomorrow, but about gradual improvements every single day. Each release is not just another opportunity for your music career, but it can also be an opportunity to grow your skills and become a better artist. That's why my framework for growing on Spotify moves away from expensive ads, daily social media, or forgetting about the number one ingredient to your success. You see, what's so different about the Spotify success framework is the fact that it really laser focuses on a release strategy that is music first, instead of marketing or promotion first. It focuses on a framework that you can follow to start making and releasing more music than ever before, all the while having each new release taken care of so that you never have to worry about promoting yourself again. Because big money and obsessing over Facebook ads or spending every waking moment on life-draining daily social media content simply does not work for 90% of artists. The rest of us need to make it work by optimizing our budgets and automating our social media efforts. So now you might be wondering, what exactly is the Spotify Success Framework? And it is the combination of three core components. The very first component is monthly releases. More specifically, it's releasing music every 28 days, or to simplify it, every 4 weeks. And in a moment, we'll be going into detail exactly why it is the specific number. So the idea is to combine monthly releases with paid ads. But the catch here is just not your everyday paid ad spending thousands and thousands of dollars on your campaign. There's a specific way that you can run low budget paid ads to drive a lot of traffic to your releases, to get real streams, and to trigger the Spotify algorithm. And the last component of the Spotify Success Framework is to combine monthly releases with low budget paid ads with automated social media. Because social media is a powerful tool that you can use. However, the way that a lot of artists are using it, it takes up way too much time and it simply isn't effective. So I found a way to automate this process so that you get the benefits of social media without it draining all of your time or energy. So now we're going to go into the Spotify Success Framework, these three core components in more detail, starting off with the monthly releases. So the idea is to release new music every 28 days. To simplify that, it's to release music every 4 weeks. And to simplify that even further, you can view it as releasing music once per month. And there are three key reasons why this specific number is what we want to reach for. And we're going to go over that, starting from the reason that isn't as important to the reason that is incredibly, incredibly important. So starting with reason number one, very simple, and it's the fact that practice makes perfect. Every single time that you release music, you're going to get better and better at promoting your music and releasing music. You're going to get better and better at getting feedback for your music so that you can make sure that every time you're releasing a new song, it does better than the song before. When you're first starting out, all this stuff might sound incredibly difficult, all these different things you're going to have to learn and new skills that you're going to have to pick up. But the more that you do it, the better you'll get at it. And all this stuff will soon become almost second nature, almost autopilot, so that you're able to have more free time, because this is becoming so quick for you that you can take on cooler and more interesting new tasks. And the idea here is to always try to be a little bit less shit than yesterday. And reason number two is for attention and momentum. By releasing music every single month, you're going to be able to guarantee that all eyes are on you as you're pushing forward with your music career. Every time that you release a new song is another chance for you to trigger the algorithm, catch the attention of the Spotify editors, catch the attention of brand new fans, bring them into your world. It's also another opportunity to nurture the fans that you already have, give them a reason to stick around, and it's also another opportunity to catch the attention of people within the industry, whether it's record labels, promoters, music publishing opportunities, all that kind of stuff. Because by releasing a new song every single month, you're going to be able to build up your numbers from release to release to release to essentially have that snowball effect where it starts off small and you're building upon each release as you release new music, getting better and better in numbers, picking up more and more fans to the point where people can't look away. They have to see what you're doing because you're constantly showing up. People are going to kind of have that effect of, okay, they keep putting out music. Let me check out what you're doing. And that's what you can do by releasing music in this way. And the third reason, which is one of the most important reasons, is due to the Spotify algorithm. So one of the reasons that Spotify is so great is because it has these algorithmic playlists, which are opportunities for artists of all sizes and of any genres. There are several that you can get on, from Discover Weekly to Radio, and each one of these is an opportunity for your music. Because Spotify rewards artists that bring highly targeted and engaged listeners to their platform by giving artists like you and I the opportunity to get placed on these Spotify algorithmic playlists, as well as even the Spotify editorial playlists. And simply put, getting your song placed on any one of these algorithmic playlists in particular means your song will get shown to thousands of new listeners who are similar to your current listeners for free. And one of the biggest opportunities for artists is the Release Radar algorithmic playlist. And the reason for this is because of how easy it is to get on and manipulate. Spotify's Release Radar playlist is a playlist that is refreshed every Friday for every single user on Spotify. And the way that you get on this is simply by releasing new music. Particularly in the Spotify for Artists dashboard, you can pitch it 7 days in advance and make sure that that song is on the release radar of all of your followers. There are some important things that you should keep in mind here. And one of the main things is that Spotify classifies a new release as a song that has been out in its first 28 days. And that really does give you the idea of why we want to release new songs every 28 days, or simply put, every 4 weeks, because then we can maximize the amount of time that we're spending in these Release Radar algorithmic playlists to get massive exposure to our music. Additionally, you should know that you're only allowed to have one song per artist in a Release Radar playlist, and this is why it's important to move away from the idea of albums or EPs, because if you were to have a release that had 8 songs on it, you'd only be able to pitch one of those songs to Release Radar, essentially wasting the opportunity and the potential of those 7 other songs that you have. Additionally, since you can only have one song in Release Radar at a time, it doesn't make sense to release music any more often than 28 days. For example, if you wanted to release a song every 2 weeks, what you might encounter is this. The first song would be in Release Radar for 2 weeks, then you'd release the second song, and it could push out that first song, again kind of crippling it and wasting the opportunity for that song, and that's not what you want. The idea is to have a new release every 28 days or every 4 weeks so that you're maximizing each song's potential with this Release Radar algorithmic playlist. In addition to this, you should understand that you are not allowed to have re-releases, so Spotify is able to look at the audio file as well as the artwork and the metadata and all that to know if it has been put out on Spotify already, and it will not be eligible for Release Radar. So the idea here is to be focusing on releasing new music. Like I mentioned earlier, this is a music first release strategy, and I'd like to assume that as an artist or a musician, you enjoy creating new music and you want to create music that's better than what you've released before, constantly putting out new stuff. I know I love making music, I love releasing music, so I hope that you're the same way here. So the idea is no re-releases. And lastly, what's incredibly amazing about these Release Radar playlists is that Spotify decides what music to put in each user's Release Radar playlist based on who they're following on Spotify, what artists they're listening to, and then also, which is incredibly important right here, is Spotify will give their own suggestions or recommendations to what that they think that listener will like. So what this means is that the more followers that you have on your Spotify profile, the more Release Radar algorithmic playlists you can potentially be in. Additionally, the more listeners you have, the more monthly listeners you have, the more Release Radar algorithmic playlists that you can be in. And one of the coolest things about Release Radar that make it such a huge opportunity for artists is that you're able to potentially trigger the Release Radar algorithm to be a suggestion in a similar listener's Release Radar playlist, even if they are not following you or listening to you yet. So now you might be wondering, how can you actually trigger the Spotify algorithm to kickstart this whole process and can have this Release Radar boost so that you get exposure to thousands of listeners that are similar to your current listeners, very highly targeted listeners. So if the Spotify algorithm notices that any song is being saved by the people who listen to it at a high rate, has a high amount of repeat listens from those songs' listeners, is being added to lots of listener playlists and maybe even higher profile user playlists, and has a Spotify popularity index of around 20%, then it's very likely that it is going to start pushing out that song that you have into the Release Radar playlist of thousands of listeners within that first 28 days. So these are the core things that you need to understand about the Spotify algorithm to make this whole strategy work and to really understand why you should be releasing music every single month. It's a massive opportunity for artists like you and I. However, this really is just scratching the surface. So if you'd like to learn more, I do have a separate training called the Hack the Spotify Algorithm Handbook, which goes into detail about all of the different Spotify playlists you can get on, including algorithmic, user, and editorial playlists, as well as it has a very, very deep dive into the Spotify algorithm. So if you want to learn more than you'd ever need to know about how all this works, and you'd like to know all that technical details, you can check that out. But that is not necessary. You now know exactly the reasons why you should be following this release strategy and the specific numbers you need to be reaching for by having highly engaged listeners that are going to be able to trigger the Spotify algorithm to get you a massive amount of streams for free. So now you might also be wondering is how can you actually reach these highly engaged listeners that will help you then hack or trigger the Spotify algorithm? And that is what we're going to be getting to in the very next lesson. So once you feel comfortable with the idea of releasing music every 28 days, you know why that is the release strategy, and you have an idea of the Spotify algorithm, how it works, then you're ready to move on to the next lesson. And we'll get into the actual specific tactics of how you're going to find these highly engaged listeners. So now after watching that video, you should have a solid idea of the strategy that you should be implementing if you really want to grow your Spotify and your music career in general. If you'd like to learn a lot more about this topic, this lesson is actually extracted from a free course that I have available for you. If you want to check it out, there is a link in the description below. It'll teach you how to build a strategy around Spotify and your actual music and develop a long-term release plan to take advantage of the algorithm and all that kind of good stuff. So there'll be a link in the description below for you to grab that for free. Other than that, if you found this useful, like and subscribe and all that good stuff, and I'll see you in the next video, my friend. Have a good one.